What's up, guys? So today I've got an interview with Anthony Strong. He's a great artist. He's a pianist and a singer. Unfortunately, I messed up the audio for the performance, so we'll record that next time. But if you want to listen to him, get the album, or you can find his stuff online. All links down underneath. So before we get started, I wanted to remind you guys about Artflix, the Kickstarter. So we are currently trying to raise funds to get the minimum viable product up and running for Artflix. So Artflix is a decentralized streaming app that puts the power back in the hand of the artist. So this is a call to arms. We need your help. Please get involved. Click on the links below. So we've got a website, artflix.agency. So we've also got the Kickstarter, which you can see there, but you'll find detailed below. Thanks a lot. We really, really appreciate your help. Over and out. Enjoy. Okay, so we're here with Anthony Strong. Thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure.
So first, two questions together. When did you first realise that you wanted to be a musician? And then what steps did you take to try and, right at the beginning?
Well, I realised super young.
Mm-hmm.
I was like playing on pots and pans in the kitchen, making drums out of my parents' kitchen utensils at about 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty clear from then I was going to be doing something with music.
Mm-hmm.
And as I kind of went through my childhood, I kind of just dabbled with a few different instruments. I played a bit of piano, but by ear, and I loved to play drums, and I sang. And so, and clarinet and saxophone were in the mix too. But I kind of got into music through doing acting classes at school.
Interesting. Yeah.
And or after school, and I was always crazy about it, but I kind of left it open as to whether I would go into acting or musicals or music. And then I won a couple of competitions, kind of big competitions as a classical musician.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents said, well, you should think about going to music school if you want to be a musician.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of went to music school as a classical musician, as a clarinetist, and heard my first jazz chords played by a jazz teacher, and I was just mesmerised.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the overall arc, is that I kind of did lots of different things and just found myself in a place with great music and great music teachers, and then the inspiration of the jazz sounds, I was just hooked from that point onwards, basically. Yeah.
Right, nice. What's your creative process for writing new things or arranging other people's work?
I try and sort of take a step back and look and think about the track or the song or the project from the listener's perspective first. So I kind of always have a vague idea or a few vague ideas of how I want things to be. So I might want to take this jazz standard and put a beat behind it and reharm the bridge, or take a tune that's in 3 and make it in 4, or and so I've always kind of got an overarching sort of idea of what I want to do to it, and then it's really just a case of putting the jigsaw back together again, if that makes sense. So I kind of try and start from big and then go more and more into detail that way. But in terms of specifics, it could be so many different things. So I might, with this last record, there was a bass line that I wrote that just, I wanted to use this bass line, so I kind of found a way to insert that into a tune, and then it went on from there. But yeah, try and look at the bigger picture. That's my thing, really.
Okay, nice. Who are your musical icons or influences?
For what I do now, for the jazz thing, it's got to be Harry Connick. Harry Connick Jr. is a legend, and also someone who, like me, I think tries to do everything. So he's a great arranger and a great singer and a great piano player, a great sort of showman, performer. And I really like that idea, and I think, I'm very much an all-rounder, and I don't mean that in a look at me, I'm an all-rounder. I mean, you know, I'm not the Mariah Carey of vocals, nor am I the Keith Jarrett of piano. So I think my strength as an artist is sort of the overall package that you get. Yeah, and then it's quite overwhelming and quite an experience, I think, well, hopefully. Yeah, Mel Torme is another person who is just blows me away, and I will never stop listening to Mel. Diana Krall was one of the first jazz CDs that I got given to me when I was a kid by my uncle. He said, "You might like this." I hadn't even checked out any jazz, but after hearing that, I was kind of switched onto that sort of middle of, like, straight ahead, radio friendly sound. So yeah, Harry, Mel Torme, Diana Krall, Chet Baker, Frank Sinatra, Ella, you know, all the greats. Yeah. But so Harry's my big one, for sure.
Nice. Was then the flip side of that same coin, what, like, modern music are you listening to now, or have you that you wouldn't expect necessarily from? I know that's a more difficult one.
I mean, I like a lot of dance music. I produce lots of different types of music at home.
Nice,
So a lot of people, when I tell them I've produced dance tracks, they're like, you. But I love hip hop music, and I'm just a music fan, you know. So whether it's like Kimberell gospel music, or like, I don't know, Nas rap music, or like, you know, Avicii dance music, like, if it's great music, then I'm in, you know. So I'm trying to think if there's anything in particular that I've been listening to recently.
It's difficult to say.
That's blown me away. That's the problem with Spotify. I'm like playlists and like dipping in and dipping out all the time. But really eclectic mix of things that I listen to. Love classical music as well. Love the like classical composers and the romantic composers as well. So bit of everything.
So I asked that because I think we're at an interesting point where technology is changing the music industry with SoundCloud rappers and stuff like that. I wonder if you had any, I think it's a positive thing. I know that, I assume that you think it's a positive thing. Obviously, there are some negatives.
I think there's two sides to that coin, isn't it? That I think I actually read a post from one of my friends, another musician in London today, who was complaining about this and saying, yes, there's some great positives, but he felt that the idea of really using your ear and learning the basics, the fundamentals of music, for a lot of people, that they're not interested in that, and they'll never be interested in that, because they want to use FL Studio and Logic, and they just want to drag beats in and mess around and like make great music as well, but it's a different pathway, and I think
I suppose it is missing some of the basics.
Missing some of those basics, maybe short circuits a few possibilities later on. Maybe that's the best way to put it, I think. But I think obviously the fact that people can make whole albums in their bedroom. I mean, I produced I produced most of the last record in my house. You know, it wasn't. I have a home studio, but it's not a crazy big setup. So we record the instruments in the studios and then bring the tracks back to my house, and that's when I start mixing and producing. So I think it's great in general. I just hope that people keep up the idea of music theory and music lessons, because that's so important.
Definitely. I agree with you on that. So are there any like lyrics or parts of music that you've written that you're particularly proud of?
Well, I'm not much of a lyric man. I work with lyricists, and the people that I work with, Guy Mathers, Tommy Antonio, I've written a song with Adam Sopp. These are like friends of mine in London. I'm so proud of their work. They've written some great lyrics. Musically, I wrote an arrangement of I Can't Give You Anything But Love, which is like one of my most popular songs online on Spotify, and I wrote a theme that opens that arrangement, and people seem to really dig that theme. And when we recorded it with strings and I'm conducting, it was just like, wow, this sounds so beautiful. That was a really proud moment. And I also wrote that sort of we recorded the original version of that song just as my mother passed, so it's kind of like dedicated to my mum, so that's kind of her theme. So the fact that it's popular and it's for her, that kind of makes me very happy. But yeah,
for sure.
that's
so
one of my
check out the link.
Yeah, check the link.
Okay, so so you have any projects that you're currently working on?
Yes, I've just finished an EP with a French singer called Sabrina Sharif, who goes by the stage name Sans Elle.
I think I've heard of her actually.
Yeah, she's fantastic, and we've been friends for nearly like 8 or 9 years now. But we've just done one thing together. So I played piano on that, and I produced that for her. I think that's coming out in December. I'm also working on an album for my friend Stevie Ball, who's like more in the sort of rock pop sort of category in London, and I also a lot of people don't know, but I've played quite a lot of chart records. So I did a lot of work with Clean Bandit.
Oh yeah, nice.
And so I continue to do that every now and again when I get the call to go into the studio or do something for them. So yeah, a few little bits and bobs.
So what do you like to do outside of music that helps you get in that space to play music?
Well, I don't know. It's not. I like to do many other things apart from music, but really, I don't.
Very separate.
Yeah, I don't have a lack of inspiration ever. Really.
Yeah.
There might be periods where I'll write slightly less songs, but I don't find like I need to do something to inspire me. If I go right, I'm going to do some music now. I'm like, boom,
then you
like
just,
straight into it. But I love movies. I love a great film.
Yeah.
I love classic films as well. I love shopping. I'm a sucker for buying nice suits.
That's a nice suit.
Thank you. The normal stuff. I used to play a lot of video games, not so much nowadays, but when I can, I like to play that, and nice meals out with my mates and friends, and all the normal stuff.
Yeah, cool. And so there may be any advice for artists trying to get into the industry?
Yes.
Maybe after they've gone to school and stuff.
Yeah, studying is super important, especially
for
jazz. It's such an art form which is really like, it's being authentic in jazz is super important. If you're not authentic, it kind of shows. It's such a high art form. So yeah, study hard is a really good thing, and practice lots. I would say the best piece of advice I've had for younger artists who want to do this is find someone that you connect with and loves what you do and wants to be in the music industry from a managerial role, because that's what happened with me. My friend Matt said to me like over 10 years ago, I want to make things happen behind the desk, not the mixing desk, the office desk. I want to have a laptop and be like making things happen for you, and that's what I really want to do with my life. Can I manage you? And I was like, yeah, cool, man, let's do this. And now we're still together, and like 4 or 5 albums later, So that's the most important thing, because it's so tough to do it on your own. Definitely. Calling up a club and asking for a gig, A, it doesn't happen, and B, it doesn't really work. You need to do it have someone to do it on your behalf. So yeah, find someone like-minded who's really up for the sort of organisational tasks, and go on that journey together. That's my best bit of advice.
It's a good piece of advice.
Thank you.
So, how has your sound changed at all from when you started to where you are now?
I think so. It's still very much the same type of music. My first record was almost all originals, like 95% originals, 90% originals. I think I'm a better singer now. I learned to play piano much earlier than I sort of started singing. So I think the whole thing's got a little more tighter and a lot more slicker. And I think for my next record, I'm going to sort of open it, stretch it out a bit. My previous records are very much trying to get them to be 3 to 4 minute long tracks. And now I'm a bit older, I'm like, nah, who cares about the length of the track? If it's a great track, then it's a great track. So I think I've stayed pretty much the same, but hopefully just improving year on year.
What's the biggest challenge you've had to face to get here?
I mean, I've been quite lucky, really, especially with meeting Matt, my manager. We get on like a house on fire, and we've never, there's been a few bumps along the road, not between us, but
you've had to go through those.
Yeah, like all managers have to, go through probably, but I can't say that it's been much of a challenge. I suppose the most challenging thing is just trying to cut through in a sea of incredibly talented musicians. You just have to just Google or go on YouTube and search jazz music, and like it's incredible.
True.
So yeah, just trying to cut through, but I have been very lucky, and what I do is kind of niche as well. There's not a million singer piano players doing jazz music, so I feel I've been kind of fortunate in that respect. But yeah, I've been fairly lucky.
So maybe lastly, how can the listeners find your music? You're on Spotify, SoundCloud, where?
Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Amazon Music, all the normal things.
I guess your website for tour dates and stuff like that.
Yeah, and CDs is anthonystrong.com.
Yeah.
And there's a Bandcamp link as well, so you can actually buy the CDs on there and stuff. So, yeah.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me, man. My pleasure.
Thanks for coming.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, my pleasure.